Hey guys, Sandy here, and today I am up on the Crafty Maven Getaway for this layout. Now, the theme of my layout today is art party, so I'm definitely going to be doing some mixed media. I have this pre-made kind of canvasy watercolory sheet of paper from Brutus Monroe. I have this cut file from the Creative Cuts Club and a sheet of white cardstock. So let's see what I can do. All right, looking at these lobsters makes me hungry for them. But good thing is Thanksgiving is coming up, so Steak and Lobster Day is well on its way. So I decided to mat the photo on that pre-made Brutus Monroe watercolor cardstock. And I love the colors, I love the blue and the purple, and I made sure to go ahead and cut it off so that more of the blue and the purple was around the photo instead of the pink. Now, I thought about bringing in a splash of neon green because I have pulled apart that tassel and it's been sitting on my desk, and I think I'm just about trying it on pretty much every layout that isn't a pastel color palette. Now I'm going to take this cut file that I got from the Creative Cuts Club, and I'm just trying to figure out where exactly I want it to lay on my layout, like where it's going to hang off, because I know I don't want to put the whole thing over top of my layout. So I figured that out, and I just use a pencil to mark lines on the edge of the 12 by 12 sheet of paper. Now, originally, I was going to pop this cut file right on top of this white cardstock. And, you know, you got to give it a little wax on, wax off to get it ready, I guess. But I've pulled out some Brutus Monroe metallic aqua pigments, and they're watercolors. And then I also pulled out this shimmers that's just about gone. So, love these metallic aqua pigments from Brutus Monroe. You can just see the metallic in there, and they are gorgeous. So I decided to go ahead and put something down and not make this like a stark white background. So I'm using a pretty thick brush, and this is one of those cheap paint brushes that you can pick up at any hardware store. And I'm pretty much dry brushing it on here. When I originally started, I was thinking like metallic-y swirls and all kinds of things and like really make it feel oceany. But as soon as I started to do the layout, it totally went a different direction. Now I am just adding in more water to basically tone down the color of this aqua pigment. And I am just adding in more of these kind of like dry but brushy stripes where the lighter color isn't. And then I just decide to go for it and basically put the blue all over the entire page because I really like the color of it. So again, my plan, totally different once I started making things happen. Now I do pull out my Tim Holtz glass media mat, and that is because I want to be able to paint on this sucker right away. And then I had to remember which way the layout was going to go. So I'm adding this on, and the very first stroke, I used that watered down version. And then I thought, you know what? I really want this to be dark. I want this to pop off of the page since I have that blue on there already. So I went ahead and added a bunch of aqua pigment, and I do water it down just a little bit because I feel like that's gonna help me spread it or some nonsense. But you can really see the striped difference, and at first I was really liking that look. I was liking the fact that there were difference in the intensity of the color on top of the cut file. But as you'll see, that wasn't the look that I ended up with. So this layout is definitely the layout of I'm starting out in one direction, and once I start it going, it completely changes and goes to a different direction. So here I am really laying down that color, and I am totally using it straight out of the bottle, no diluting it whatsoever. And it is the most pretty, dark, almost cobalt blue. Like, it is gorgeous. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I am really, really soaking this paper up because the paper does pull in the watercolor, And then the only thing I'm doing is adding more and more. So basically everything is completely wet. And I am doing this with a gentle brush. So if I was really like pulling this brush along the paper, it has the potential to tear. So I am using it with gentle brush strokes while I'm getting that paper. And like that, you can see on the back side, like it's pretty much soaked all the way through. And I don't know what I was thinking pulling it up like that, other than the fact I didn't want it to completely dry on top of the glass mat. Now this is the shimmers, and I think they are awesome. So this has some more metallic in it, and I'm just going to go ahead and basically add some accents of this metallic shimmer color all over. And then I decide, what did I just do? I love my my dark color so much, and I just took it all away. So basically, I take the dark blue aqua pigments again and put it right over top of the shimmers. And what that does is it brings this second layer of shimmer on top of the shimmers. So you'll be able to see it when it's dry. You'll be able to see like where the shimmers show up a little bit. And this, I love this sucker. Let me show you how easy it is to clean watercolors off this mat. So I just sprayed some water on it and wiped it on off. Now that blue that's still there in the middle is glitter paste, and it is something that I need to take off a little bit better than I already have. So I blot it a little bit and then I lay it back down because this bad boy is really going to have to dry. You know, sometimes I don't mind using my wet mixed media. Like, I don't have a problem with that, but sometimes it's a little bit too wet. Okay, and then voila, we're all dried, and I'm taking a anti-static powder tool bag, and I am just putting it over top of the entire cut file here. And then I'm taking this stamp that I picked up at the give and take table at Retreat, and I am just using a Versamark ink pad and inking it up and then stamping over top of the cut file. I'm not really too concerned about where it's going. I do want to get some coverage across the cut file, like from basically the entirety of the cut file without covering up every single little bit of the cut file. I still want areas that are just blue that will not have this embossing that I'm getting ready to do on it. So I am using some Brutus Monroe embossing powder, and this is Mermaid Tail, I believe. And you guys, if you are an embosser, if you like embossing, if that is something that you consider fun, you have got to check out some Brutus Monroe embossing powders. They are glorious. They melt so smoothly. They're just great quality. The colors are amazing. I just love them. And I'm not an affiliate for them. Wish I was, but I am not. Just love the embossing powders. So the only thing I'm doing is tapping it on top of the cut file, making sure that I get it back into the embossing pot. And then I'm going to take a, oh, not here. Okay. So this time I decided to squirt the media mat with water and pick up the embossing powder that way. So that is one way to do it. I also keep a dry Swiffer nearby and use that to like clean up stray embossing powder because it does get everywhere. So here we go. I am going to warm up my heat tool here for a few minutes. That's a little excessive. Probably more like 25-30 seconds. And then I'm just going to go ahead and emboss everything. And look at that, you guys. I love embossing. It is so much fun to me. I just love taking it and you'll be able to watch it from this powder to this clear melty business. And then when it finally is fully melted and you pull the heat away and it solidifies again, oh, I just love it. Embossing is fun. If you haven't tried embossing, you gotta get yourself somewhere where you can try it. Now, embossing isn't for everyone. I won't say that like you have to be an embosser, but you definitely should try it. Get yourself to a class, get yourself to an art store, get yourself somewhere where they're going to let you try it out before you go and invest in all the things that you need for embossing. So definitely do that. Oh, look at that. So it's giving my cut file another layer. So I have the dark layer, I have the extra shimmery layer, I have the layer on top of that, and now I've got this embossed layer. Isn't that cool? So cool. And no, it does not cover the entire cut file. It does not, it doesn't have a whole bunch there, but I'm okay with it. Now, at this point, I was thinking I needed to do something besides that layout, that background that I pre-made, just because I wasn't really feeling it. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like it was just too much shimmery blue on top of shimmery blue, and I wanted a little bit of contrast. I wanted to do that so that my cut file really stood out. And even though I've done a lot of things to the cut file, there's lots of layers of mixed media on the cut file, there's watercolor, there's embossing powder, there's all that fun stuff, it still really felt almost like one note when it's on top of that striped kind of mixed media background that I made. And I actually don't even know what I did with the background. I'm looking around my room because I was like, oh, I will be able to use that for something else. I don't know if I've made a layout with it already or what. But that's got to be something I figure out because I like the background. It just wasn't exciting enough for my lobster layout. So this is Echo Park paper, and they make fantastic polka dot paper, like fantastic. I actually have this, the scraps of it still sitting out because I want to use the polka dots again. Not for lobsters, but So I'm going to use my grid mat here to line up the layout and just to show you what I'm going to do. So I do know that I need this to be 12 by 12. So I'm just making sure that everything lines up and we're like, whoops, didn't do that one too well, so we're going to do it over again. This time I add a little adhesive to the back of the paper and decide to go at it from a different direction. So we go ahead and get that down, and now I'm going to try one more time to make the layout a 12 by 12 square. And it happens. Hooray. And we're lining it up, and we're still lining it up. And finally lined up. So that's going to be that. I rub off the little bit of adhesive that I used to hold it down. And then what has to happen, you guys, like it literally has to happen. I was at retreat and Crystal was awesome enough to let me washi tape the back of her page. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's one of those things where if there is something poking through the other side, or if there are layers of paper back there, like I just feel like you need some washi tape on it to smooth it out so it can slide in and out of the page protector easily in your album. And it just, I just feel like it just needs to happen. So we made that happen. Now here is the cut file, and I do know that it is only partially going to be used here. So I just line it up and figure out exactly where I want it to be. So I do change it up a little bit from my original markings, but you know what? That happens. So now I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive, and I'm not adding adhesive everywhere because I'm just trying to get enough adhesive on the cut file to be able to put it down. And here I was looking at trying to find my original pencil lines to see how close I was going to be. And then I decide, need to bring that over a little bit. And I'm trying to line it up so that the star looks great, and also that shell right there, I'm not just leaving the lines of the shell, I'm actually getting some of the backside of the shell. So here I am off on the other side, trimming off the cut file, and I just used my guillotine trimmer to trim that off instead of worrying about trimming it off with scissors. Too much to worry about. Too much could go wrong. Now, I also decided that I needed to add some more color over here where my lobster is. So I used that same polka dot paper, and I went ahead and just gave it another matte, another photo matte, which is perfect. So there we go. Going to be adding a little bit more adhesive down just to hold the pieces down. And there isn't, I'm not like going through and really putting a whole lot of adhesive, just enough to basically hold down the layout. I do have the photo there with a lot of adhesive on the back of it, holding it into place. And as you guys know, my layouts don't hang out in my room very long. They hang out for about a month, so I can do a layout share video, and then they go into their page protectors and go into their albums. Now I'm using this fun multicolor thicker alphabet from American Crafts, and I could not tell you what it's called right now. I just don't know. And I'm just going to spell out summer lobs. And basically I do summer lobs for two reasons. One, it's something we call lobster, like when they are alive and in the, you know, in the box that they arrive in, because we have them shipped in from Maine. We're like, look at those lobs. And then the second reason is because lobsters was not really going to fit right where I wanted it to fit, and I did not want to go over top of the cut file with my title. So, two reasons, both are equally adequate. Or, you know what? Even if it would have totally fit and I've never called a lobster a lob in my life, if that's what I wanted to title it, then hello, just title it that way. Like, do your thing. Seriously, do your thing. And I decided to specifically call it Summer Lobs because, like I said, we usually do lobster on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is otherwise known as Steak and Lobster Day in our house. So I just wanted to date it. And I'm really making an effort to use these thicker stickers, numbers, because I end up using a whole bunch of the alphabet and the numbers are just kind of sitting there all alone, and I have all these numbers. So I figure if I actually date these things, it'll be great. Now, these layouts do go in our chronological family albums. However, you know what? I mean, somebody might take it out. The binders could pop open. There could be all kinds of things, and having to remember where everything goes is like a nightmare. Seriously, like a nightmare. So I'm just going to add in a few things. I'm bringing in some stickers, also bringing in some tabs, just to kind of give the layout a little bit extra. I'm always a fan of more is more, but in this case, I really want the cut file to shine. Like, I want that. I want you to be able to, like, look at this layout. I want the cut file to be like, wow, this is what drags you in to look at it. And then you're like, oh yeah, look at those lobsters. Like, that's how I want you to look at the layout. And I hope that's how I've made it happen. I am bringing in some thickers, foam stickers, and this knife and fork, just because I felt like there needed to be a little bit of something extra, because, you know, more is more. So I do have the knife and fork, and then I have these other words that came in some Dear Lizzie collection. They are thickers as well. I decided to bring in the foam arrow that came on the same sticker sheet as the fork and knife, and then I bring in another arrow up here because I felt like everything is kind of creamy. And then I've got these pops of white, so I definitely needed to bring the pop of white up to the top as well. Now, something I could have done was stitch around the edges of where my polka dot and my pattern paper meet up. While I'm looking at this, I'm thinking that would have been a great touch, but I'm not going to go back and stitch the layout now, even though I think it's a good thing now. So add another sticker that says, "This is the life." That came off of a Simple Story sticker sheet, I believe. And I'm just adding in the last little bits, and then I'm going to put some journaling on there, and then this layout is done, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave me a comment down below if you'd like to chat about anything, and then be sure to subscribe if you'd like to see some more content. So I will see you guys again real soon.